Hello, everyone. Good evening to you all. Good afternoon, wherever you're watching us from, and good morning, wherever you are. My name is Rosalind Abigail Trenate, and I'm super excited for today. We are still in the month of Dyslexia Awareness Month, and today I'm going to be hanging out with somebody who is a thought leader when it comes to dyslexia and all about inclusive education. You don't want to miss this discussion because this person is brilliant and really a sought after leader in our community. And I'm super humble to have him join us. Without much ado, I will give an intro of him, and he is Dr. Gad Elbeheri. He's the founder and managing director of Global Educational Consultants in Egypt. Previously, Dr. Gad was the Dean of Australian College of Kuwait, and he is now the expert of the Center for Child Evaluation and Teaching after previously being its executive director. Dr. Gad obtained his PhD from the University of Durham, UK, and has a keen interest in cross-linguistic studies of dyslexia, learning disabilities, and inclusion. Dr. Gad has made over 40 conferences and seminar presentations around the world. Can you imagine? He has published over 8 books in both English and Arabic, and in the field of dyslexia, and over 10 peer-reviewed journal articles on dyslexia and its manifestation in Arabic. He has participated in producing national standardized tests and computer-based screening programs in Arabic. Amazing profile. You see the reason why I told you today we're going to be hanging out with a superstar. And so come on the conversation, ask questions, send in your questions in the chat box. And at the end of our discussion, I will be picking those questions for us to ask Dr. Gad. So without much ado, I will bring him here for us to chat with him. Hello and welcome once again, Dr. Gad.
Hi, Rosaline, and thank you so much for the lovely introduction, and thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be with you tonight.
It's a pleasure of mine to be with you this very moment. And so today, welcome to Dyslexia Global Conversation. I know we are still in the month of dyslexia awareness, and over here in Ghana, we have just been learning a lot about this name called dyslexia. Sometimes I pronounce it and it's a mouthful, but that's why I bring you here to kind of really help us to feel at ease, because a lot of parents, the moment you mention the name, they want to run away and they feel like it's a sort of disease. So could you please I know I've read your profile, but also tell us about you and the work you have been doing in the dyslexia community.
Absolutely. First of all, I love the logo of the Africa Dyslexia Association. I think your logo is awesome. So well done for the logo.
Thank you.
Dyslexia, I'll talk about the first part of, and then I'll answer your question. Dyslexia is a Greek word that's been taken into English, and it has 2 parts. Dyslexia. And like you, whenever I started, and when I started, people used to say, what dyslexia? And people used to mispronounce it all the time because it is a hard word. And people used to think, what is this? Is this a disc? Is this when you have a slipped disc in your back or something? Or is there a disease? Or so we are not very dissimilar to what you are saying. Dyslexia, this means problems with. Lexia, words. So dyslexia, problems with words. Dyslexia. I'm a teacher. I graduated from the Faculty of Education in Alexandria University in Egypt. So I'm a qualified teacher of English. And then I wanted to study abroad, so I went to the UK. And while I was doing I've always been fascinated by linguistics and how language work, especially Arabic and English. And while I was doing my master's at the University of Westminster in London, they asked me to translate a book, Rosalind. They said, you have to translate a book that is relevant to your background. My background was in education. I'm a teacher. So I thought, okay, my background is in education. They said, okay, choose a book and translate so that you can show us that your translation skills are good. So I picked up a book, and the book was called The Gift of Dyslexia. And it just drew my attention. The gift of dyslexia? Is dyslexia a gift? And I must admit, at the time, that was 1998. At the time, I didn't know that much about dyslexia. My only view or my only knowledge of dyslexia is that the kids, they see the words upside down, and they flipped, and when you see it, the mirror images and whatever. That's the only information that I had about dyslexia. And when I translated the book, it was really a challenge because there's so many definitions, theories, and what happened. And I really have to dig deep into the Arabic language because I was translating from English to Arabic. And when I finished, my supervisor at the time, he was a really nice man. He said, Gad, this topic, we don't know about it in the Arab world. We don't have a lot of research on dyslexia in the Arab world. And you should really don't stop there. You should really carry on. So I thought, maybe that's a good idea. So once I finished my master's, I applied to the University of Durham in the UK in applied linguistics as well to study dyslexia, because I thought, I'm a teacher. I should have been told about dyslexia as a teacher. I should have been told, because I'm sure that some of the kids that I was teaching had dyslexia and I misdiagnosed them, or I thought they were lazy. I thought they were not understanding. I should have known better. People should have trained me better. So I felt a little bit a sense of responsibility there. So I went at the University of Durham, and for 4 years, I looked at dyslexia and how dyslexia manifests itself, how dyslexia shows itself in Arabic. So I looked at the relationship between dyslexia and the language that you speak. So if you're Chinese, will you be dyslexic in Chinese? Or does only dyslexia in Finnish or Italian? What is the relationship between the two? And that's how I got started.
Wow, wow, wow. Like, you talking about the way you came into the known of dyslexia and how you had to translate, and then for the fact that this was not something that was known in Egypt, then that's kind of, and you were in education. So like the question, the statement you made was, how many children have passed through me that I have considered you are probably not studying hard enough. And I have to admit that it happened with my dad as well. So 3 years ago, when I found out to be dyslexic, I came home and I told my dad. And mind you, my dad has been in education for over 40 years. And
wow,
it was the first time my dad was getting to know about dyslexia. Thankfully, he has been considered a teacher who has like really passion for the job, and so is able to help students who are not performing to turn around and all that. But he didn't give me that support that I needed. He actually got fed up at a point that I was wasting his resources and all that. So even last Saturday, I was speaking to him and I was like, Daddy, I'm sure you have probably told the students like you are really down for something because you're teaching them and they don't know. And she was like, my daughter, I just didn't know about dyslexia. So this is a concern. This is a concern. So let us know what is dyslexia. And for me, as you've explained, it's difficulty. It's a Latin word or something that means difficult and all that. But really, when it comes to dyslexia, what is it? How does it affect a child? How does it affect somebody?
Okay, Rosalind, sometimes when we define, if you want to understand something, you define it. And sometimes the best way of definition, or one of the most used way of definition, is defining it by referring it to something bigger. Because if we refer it to something bigger, we understand it. So we say a table. What is a table? A table is an item of furniture. So, okay, so I understand the table because I understand furniture. So a table is an item of furniture, and so on and so forth. A chair is an item of furniture. So we refer to big. So in order to understand dyslexia, let's refer it to the bigger side. So dyslexia is a learning disability. That's number one. It's a learning disability. Yeah. So it is a disability. It is something that you are born with. It is not dyslexia. There is a difference between dyslexia and dyslexia. Dyslexia is a joke. It's like, oh, I have dyslexia because my teacher is bad. I have dyslexia because my curriculum is bad. I have dyslexia because my dad traveled so much and changed so many schools. I have dyslexia because I didn't go to KG. I have dyslexia because I was late to speak. No, 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 no. Nothing is... No, dyslexia is a learning disability. It's a disability like so many other types of disability. But this disability, we call it, Rosalind, the hidden. Why is it hidden? Because if you see the person, you wouldn't know. I mean, he's okay. He can communicate with people. He has sometimes leadership skills, sometimes clever. He's okay. The problem starts when they start reading. So the problem starts when they start using books. The problem starts when they are asked to spell. The problem starts when they are asking to write an essay. Oh no, writing an essay is very difficult, very difficult. The problem starts when they are filling a form. So a disability, it is something that stops the children or the adults from learning and benefiting from education. As you know, Rosalina, I'm from Egypt, I'm an African like you, and for African, we really need education. Education for us is very important. Education is what will help us, what would really make us developed country, what will really encourage innovation, sustainability. Education is important. So dyslexia is very important for development. There are a group of kids, there are a group of children who are just born like that. It's from birth, it's congenital. They have a learning disability called dyslexia. What caused it? Well, we have so many theories. We have about 9 theories. And some people say, oh, it's to do with vision. You know, they can't see properly and they can't process. Some people say, no, it's to do with ears. They can't hear the sounds and whatever. And some people say, no, it's naming. They can't name things. There are so many different theories. But it doesn't matter about the theories. What matters is it's real. It's in the classroom. It affects family. The prevalence rates, Rosalind, is 10% around the world. And the severe, those with severe cases, is 3 to 4%. So for your father, he would have had in every classroom that he taught, he would have had at least, if Ghana is like Egypt, we're talking about 30 or 40 in a classroom. Your father would have had about 3 or 4 in each classroom. But he wouldn't know them because he doesn't know the symptoms. He wasn't trained. He would think they are lazy. He would have thought they are stupid. He would have thought that, oh, at home, they don't care. They don't care about them at home. They would have thought, oh, these kids, you have to repeat so many times. They don't get it. These kids are not into learning because he hasn't been told. But dyslexia is a learning disability. It's real. The people with dyslexia deal with information differently. So they have good ears, they have good eyes, they have the senses is okay, the brain is okay, but the way the brain deal with information is different. They process information differently. So they need someone, the treatment or the help and the intervention is educational. They need someone who knows about dyslexia. They need a good teacher. They need an expert teacher. They need a teacher who knows how to deal with them. And that's it. If they are given the chance, and if the teacher is well-trained and well-educated, the teacher would really help them. They can overcome the problems, but they will overcome the problems to do with the writing and spelling. They will be dyslexics in other area. They will still lose the keys. They wouldn't know where they put the keys for the car or where they put the mobile phone. They will still lose direction. Sometimes they wouldn't know what is right and what is left and what is up and down. Sometimes they will have to sing the alphabet song just to remember the letters. So this will stay with them. But what will remove with a good program, what will be overcome is the reading and the spelling problems, which is really what our education system depends on. Can you imagine in Ghana or in Egypt, a kid who can't read? How can he learn? How can they learn? Because all of the material, science, geography, history, is all in the books. And if you can't access the books, you have no chance. You'll be suffering, really.
Wow. It's It's like you're talking even, I mean, you are a global man. So it's of no surprise that you are talking the situation that is even here in Ghana, even though you haven't been here. The challenge for us is people do not know. And people are also concerned, like, okay, if my child is diagnosed with dyslexia, is it a form of disease? And so I like the way you explain it and said that it's a form of a learning disability. Therefore, your child, it doesn't mean your child has a disease or something. From Egypt's point of view, I'd like to know, do people place stigmatization on dyslexia when somebody has come as dyslexic?
The whole of the Middle East, not just Egypt, the whole of the Middle East. I've given lectures in Saudi, in Qatar, in Emirates, in Kuwait, in Egypt. There is stigma. There is a social stigma. So when I talk to parents, oh, no, 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 please don't mention. Oh, why? Oh, my daughter. If somebody know, she's not going to get married. Nobody's going to marry her. It's nothing to do with oh, no, 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 don't. Or sometimes because it's a learning disability, so you need the certificate so that you can get help from the government. So in some Arab countries, the government will help you. They will send you to someone to assess you. They will send you to a school to provide help and support for you. But you can't get this help and support until you have a certificate. It's called the certificate of disability. And the parent will say, no, I will pay from my own pocket. I won't tell anybody because of the stigma. Because it is shame to be this. You shouldn't talk about it. You should hide it. But that's okay, Rosalind, because in the UK and in the US, the situation was like this 30 years ago. So this is a step in our history. And that's why people like me and like you and the wonderful work that you are doing is very important. We have to raise awareness and say, hey guys, it's just a learning disability. It is not a disease. There's no cure. We don't use the word cure. It is just a learning disability. They are able people. They are successful people. Some of them have really made it. Some of them are really famous. Some of them will be surprised, like Winston Churchill and Whoopi Goldberg, just a fantastic Cher, Tom Cruise, full of people. And these people suffered also when they were growing up. They couldn't read, they have a problem spelling, they have a problem when they were primary schools and whatever. It doesn't stop you succeeding. What stops you if people don't help you? What stops you if the educational system fails you? What stops you if people are ignorant about it? So the more good work we are doing, the more awareness, this is the right way. And teacher training, awareness and teacher training. This is really the right way of helping people and reaching out for people with dyslexia.
Wow. It's also the same here in Ghana, where you have a child, you've done assessments, they've come out as dyslexic, and even parents don't want to acknowledge it. And also, there are schools that could help this child, but the parents don't want to take these children there because they feel like those schools have been tagged that, oh yeah, it's a special school and I don't want my child to be in special school. And this brings me to the question as to, if we are talking about inclusive education and a child with dyslexia, if that child goes to the normal stream of school, then what sort of help would you advise that educational institutions can have in place? Over here in Ghana, some class are about 70 students in class. How will it be effective in teaching a child with dyslexia in such a class?
We have the same challenges, Rosalind, in Egypt. Because we haven't been in, we have a lot of population. Even Egypt is now 101 million. So we are a big country. So we have a lot. And some of our schools, we have 70, 80, 90, some are 50. So we have exactly the same challenges. So the government schools, they are really trying, but they are trying to provide space. They're not trying to look for the dyslexics, because they think, yeah, of course, the dyslexics, but even those who even can't access education. So we have to be also practical in our request. We say, okay, please help dyslexics. But sometimes we really have to understand and be patient with the government, because they were saying, okay, I understand, I would like to help dyslexics, but I have no place even for the non-dyslexics, if you know what I mean. I have no place for everybody. But talking about this, what I call a loaded question, Rosalind. It's a loaded question about inclusive education because it's a big question and it's really misunderstood. Let me start, because it causes a lot of troubles all of the countries that I've visited. Different people are doing different things. And dyslexia as a learning disability, like any disability, Rosalind, any disability happens in a continuum. What does a continuum mean? It means like this pen here. Some disability will be here. We call this severe. Some disability will be here in the middle. We call this moderate. And some disabilities will be here. We call this mild. So any disability, eye, ear, movement, any disability can be mild or moderate or severe. If you want to help in the regular school, in the regular system, you can help mild and moderate. How? How can you help mild or moderate? By making teacher training, by changing the policy, by raising awareness, by allowing some of those students for some of the time to come out of the classroom. We call this pull out. So you take them out of the classroom and somebody will sit with them and teach them the basics, by giving them less homework, by not penalizing them for spelling, by talking to them and encouraging them to, by not asking them to read out loud and embarrass them in front of everybody. You can do, and by having extra support for them, extra help, extra learning support, you can help. But for those who are severe, you can't help them in this classroom, in this setting. For these severe cases, you might need another school just for dyslexics, or you might need another center that they can go in the afternoon, or they might need a system where the student can come 2 days or 3 days to the school and go 2 days in the center, and it's okay. Dubai, Rosalind, Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, they did this system. They call it the Dubai Inclusion Framework. So they built a framework and they say to the school, you're not allowed not to accept, because in the past, if you have a dyslexic or a disabled child in Dubai, you go to the school and the school will tell you, no, we don't want you. We only want this one. And, they pick because the child will have a disability. And some of the schools, they just want grades. I want grades, I want the grades table. I want people to say I'm bringing the best and whatever. And that is not good. That is not inclusion. That is not kind. It's not nice. So Dubai said, no, you have to really, you have to show support and encourage. But there are so many different ways in which you can do this. The problem happened with inclusion when somebody think that inclusion means put everyone in one classroom. How can you put everyone in one classroom? How? You have 70. How can you put this grade 4 and he's dyslexic, so he reads at grade 1 because he has a gap, 3 years gap. So you put him with grade 4, he doesn't understand anything. How are you going to help him? How are you going to support him? He says, no, don't take him out. This is inclusion. So we say to him, who told you that this is inclusion? Who told you that? Because I was last year and the year before, 2 years in a row, I was an independent expert for the UNESCO. So I went, the UNESCO invited me in Paris. So I went and I stayed for 2 years with the committee. And this UNESCO, they have an organization, because UNESCO is the UN organization that deals with literacy. It deals with education. It's the United Nations Education and Scientific. So if you're talking about education in the UN, UNESCO is the body. So UNESCO have a team, a very good team. They are called the GEM report, GEM, the GEM report. And what the GEM report does, GEM stands for General Monitoring Report. General Monitoring Report. So what do you do, Rosalind? All around the world, this team monitor education. What's happening in education in Ghana? What's happening in education in Argentina? What's happening? And they produce a report every year, and they take one specific topic to produce this report. So they asked me to be an expert on the topic for inclusion. So I went 2018 and 2019. So I'm aware of this inclusion. And whenever I go and talk, people get uncomfortable, and they say, "Oh no, this is, if you take them out, that's not inclusion." I said, "Okay, I'm a teacher. Can you please come and show me? I have a classroom of 70 people. Can you please come and show me how to help the dyslexics in this classroom?" Who said this is torture? This is not inclusion or whatever. And for countries, they are trying to, different countries, the US is trying to do something, Canada is trying to do something, Singapore is trying to do, and they are learning. This issue is still developing. There is no one model, Rosalind, that is a very good model. People are learning. But the problem is when you learn, you affect kids. They are like, you are learning with kids' life. You are learning with kids' education. And sometimes this is an emotional topic for some people when you talk about dyslexia and inclusion and inclusive education. But wherever I go, I always tell them, you have to really understand inclusion. What is inclusion? Because it is not understood, Rosalind, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that it is misunderstood, because for me, even coming back to the Sustainable Development Goal 4 and 10, and the 4 is hammering on quality education and inclusion. And I figure out, yeah, it's a pretty goal, and we have 10 years to achieve the goal. But the question being now is, do people really understand, just like the word you said, inclusion? Do they understand it? And how are various countries going to be able to play their part in making sure that inclusion is in our education system? And then when it comes to the goal 10, which is reduce inequalities, and I'm thinking of, yes, when it comes to the the disability aspect, are we looking at the hidden disabilities as well? Because when I do visit our schools and the ministries of education and all that, what I do realize is they recognize the physical disabilities, but not really the hidden disability like dyslexia, dyscalculia, and all that. This brings me to ask you this, since that is on a very higher level, what do those people really do to make sure that various countries really understand some of these terminologies they put on, like the SDGs, for instance? Now we're talking on education. So education, making sure no one is left behind, inclusiveness and all that. Do they make sure that the countries really understand these things?
Yes, absolutely. They are doing a very good job. But there are two types of UNESCO. You can have depending on what setup your country has with them. So some countries will have an actual UNESCO office. So there is a UNESCO office run by Paris, run by the UNESCO, the UN in Paris. And some countries will have what we call a national committee. It's a national committee. So it's actually run by, say, Ghana, and it's run normally by the Ministry of Education. Like Kuwait, for instance. Kuwait has a national committee of the UNESCO. But really the office runs by Kuwaitis and by the Kuwaiti government with guidance from, and they are trying as much as they can to raise awareness and whatever. But their role is their role. They are advisory. It is really the role of the Ministry of Education in the country. The Ministry of Education, if the Ministry of Education in the country have good expertise, good planning, good understanding of learning, good understanding of the system of education, the system of learning. If the stronger the Ministry of Education calibers and budget and planning, the stronger the awareness and the better help from the kids. So it's not really, the UNESCO are trying to do their best, but it is really the Ministry of Education.
Absolutely, I agree. They can give them even, it's true, because they can even give the funding for it, but at the end of the day, the ministries of various countries decide whether we're going to put in that budget to focus on education and inclusive learning for all and all that. Now, coming to this point, I like to find out, is dyslexia the only learning disability? And if you know, what are the other ones?
Okay, there are 4 different types of learning disability. The British call them SPLDs, specific learning disabilities. There are 4 of them. Dyslexia is the biggest and the most important one. Dyslexia alone is 80% of all of the learning disabilities. The second one is called dyscalculia. Problems with calculia with numbers. So dyscalculia, problems with numbers. The third one is dysgraphia, problems with graphic. So dysgraphia is problems with handwriting, so problems with writing. And the last one, Rosalind, is dyspraxia. Dys, Latin, problems with, and praxis, Latin, another Latin word that means movement. So dyspraxia is a problem with motor coordination disorder. So children who are having a problem with the motor. So there are 4 types of learning disability, but dyslexia alone is 80%. Now, I get asked a lot of the time, Rosalind, about ADHD. So they said, this dyslexia, the kids who move too much, or the kids who don't pay attention. And so we say, no. ADHD is a behavioral disorder. It's a disorder of behavior. So ADHD is not a learning disability. Learning disability are the 4: dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, and dysgraphia. ADHD is different. However, what we have, Rosalind, is we have something called comorbid or comorbidity. What does that mean? Co means 2. So comorbid is when you have 2 things at the same time. So you have ADHD and dyslexia, or you can have ADHD and dysgraphia, or you can have ADHD and dyspraxia, or you can have dyslexia and dyscalculia, or you can have dyslexia and dyspraxia. Sometimes you have 2 things at the same time. And that's what really makes the assessment very important. So the assessment process of dyslexia is really very important. We need to have good assessment, good professional. We need to have good training. We need to have good tools in order to identify. Because if you assess wrong, if you make a wrong assessment, how are you going to help them and intervene? So the people who are doing the assessment must be really well qualified and must have tools and good understanding of dyslexia.
Wow. Can somebody who has dyslexia be able to learn and read fluently? Because some people are like, oh, maybe I think my child may never know how to read and write, and whatever assistance we give him may not result into the expectation, what we expect of him. Can students with dyslexia or can people with dyslexia be able to learn to read, and can they be of somebody of substance in society in future?
Okay. Do you want the short answer, Rosalind, or the long answer?
I want something that our viewers watching will know that dyslexia is not a disease, but it's just a learning challenge.
The short answer is yes. Yes. So if you have dyslexia with appropriate help, appropriate understanding, appropriate identification, appropriate intervention, no problem. You can learn, you can read fluently, you can become a writer, you can become a poet, you can become a solicitor, you can become whatever you want to be. If somebody help you, you actually help society. And I did a study, Rosalind, in Kuwait, when I was in Kuwait in my early years, 2007, 2008, it's published in a journal. It's a peer-reviewed study, so it's a proper scientific study. It's published a journal called Dyslexia in the UK. And that study, I wanted to find out what is the percentage of dyslexia in the prison population. Because around the world, what we are witnessing is that there is more dyslexics in prison. There are more dyslexics in juvenile delinquents. Why? Why are they? Because, they are clever. They are clever people. The people who did fraud, who fraud you, or the people who did they are very clever and they lied and they stole money from you. They are more clever than you. You see, they are tricksters. They are more clever than you. They did. So why are you okay? If you are that clever, why didn't you go to college? Why didn't you go to education? And why didn't you benefit society? Because now you are harming society. Why aren't you benefiting society? Because they have dyslexia and nobody knows. So what the research is telling us, that for these kids, if we help them, if we give them good education, they become scientists like Einstein and very famous people. If we don't help them, they harm society. I did the study and I found that the population is 22%. The population of dyslexics in juvenile, young, the young ones, the young 14, 13, antisocial behavior, 22%. And the same study was replicated. If you look at the research around the world, they did a study in Europe, they did a study, a lot of, if you compare dyslexics amongst typical population and dyslexics among prison population, prison is higher. And you're thinking, why? Very simple, because they mistreated, they are misunderstood. Somebody called them you're stupid or whatever, and they get angry. They get angry if you have a problem that nobody understands. If you can't read, but you are clever verbally. Do you have to be clever writing? You can understand, you can communicate, and you can communicate with people. Not every job needs reading, right? You can listen. Now there's audiobooks. You can read using audiobooks. You put audiobooks and listen, no problem. So what is the problem? The problem is when you limit learning to reading, and then they get angry, they get upset, and they have small jobs that don't bring them money. So some of them will turn to crime. Some of them will actually go and there is few of them like this. There is an American guy that I know, really nice guy. He used to be in prison, and he realized that he was dyslexic in prison. When he was in prison, I think his name is Amir Baraka, lovely guy, and now he really advocating for this and say, guys, you have to really understand them, you have to really help them. And that's why there is a lot of research about teaching people in prison how to read. Teaching them how to read and how to be better, because once they leave prison, they can help society, they can help their community, it will facilitate their rehabilitation. So the short answer is yes, dyslexia, definitely you can help them, they can benefit society, but if you don't help them, they can harm society.
I absolutely agree, but listening to the numbers you are calling of people in juvenile in prison is quite high. And I will encourage viewers, please send in your comments and your questions for me to ask Dr. Gad over here with your concerns with regards to dyslexia and all related learning differences. But the number is really high, but I know it's true, because for me as a child growing up, facing learning challenges in school, I was called those names like lazy, dumb, stupid, and all that. And I remember at the age of, I think 13, 14 or so, I got so fed up that one time I wrote a letter to my aunt. I wrote a letter and took her money. And I said, you know what, I've had enough of it. And I ran away from the house. So I traveled for like about 2 hours from where we are staying to the city of Accra. And then for 2 weeks, they reported me to the police. They were looking for me. But I went and I was hiding with some friends somewhere. I was just lucky that I had somebody, and I phoned the person and told the person, oh, I'm here, but don't tell my parents. And after the call, the person went and told my parents, and they came for me. But as you were talking, I was just imagining that if my parent hadn't come for me and I happened to have stayed there, I don't know what sort of life I would have gotten for myself. And I don't know what I would have evolved myself into. And so this really explained the fact as to why we have so many of these people in prison, like you said. And I know some of them are very smart, but it's just that the opportunity they didn't get, and they didn't get the support, and people were making fun of them and all that. That's why it has resulted. But that's really sad in a way.
And that's why we always say we have to raise awareness, we have to help them. If you experience failure, you can take it. You can take it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But more than this, okay, enough is enough. You become fed up. You've had enough. I mean, it's and that's why they really need support. Teachers at primary and middle school, especially middle school, primary and middle school, they really need to understand dyslexia, guys. We really need to help those kids, because those kids, they would love. Because you know what research also tells us, Rosalind, that children are motivated by nature. What does that mean? You know, if you have a baby, as soon as you have a baby, mothers who are listening to you, as soon as you have a baby, you just give them your finger and they're just trying to grab your finger. They're trying to grab it. They're trying to eat it. And why do kids do this? Because they wanted to explore the world. They are born wanted to see, wow, everything. They wanted to. So learning is by nature, by default, inherent in us. So when kids go to school in KG and in grade 1, they wanted to learn. Kids are eager to learn. But when they are eager to learn and they don't know how to learn, and teachers keep telling them, this is wrong. Oh, you are stupid. This is wrong. You are reading wrong. And then they experience failure and failure and failure and failure. That will make them resentful. It will make them angry. It will make them upset. And then they would hate to go to school. They will have school phobia. They have anxiety. They have anger issue that might turn into aggression and antisocial behavior.
Wow, I absolutely agree. And I was watching a movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's by Nessie called Michael, and it says true life story of Michael, who is now the CEO of Nessie. And if you look at the anger, and he has to be hitting people and the anxiety and all that, and he will be sacked from school. We do not want any child to experience it. That is why we're having some of these conversations on Dyslexia Global Conversation. And we hope as viewers, you'll be sharing some of these videos to go far. I mean, share it because it will save somebody. Maybe you don't have anybody in your home who is dyslexic or has learning challenges, but just share it because it might help somebody who is looking for an answer to a challenge like this. My next follow-up question will be, as teachers or in schools and for even parents, what are some of the learning resources or help that are available that after assessing a student, a person who comes out as dyslexia, what are the next steps to follow to help the person in their learning journey?
First of all, they need to read about dyslexia. So number one, read about dyslexia. Become a member of a dyslexia organization. The International Dyslexia Organization in the US, it's 71 years old. 71 years old. Established in 1949. This guy has been researching dyslexia for 70 years. And we are still talking about dyslexia, girls not getting married. So become a member of a professional dyslexia organization. Read about dyslexia. There are so many books. Some of them are ebooks, some of them free. Go to the library, read about it. Number three, take a course about it. Take a course about dyslexia. I have developed, I'm now focusing my energy, Rosaline, in developing courses on dyslexia. So far, I've done 3. I've done a dyslexia assessment because assessment is very important. So I've done a dyslexia assessment course in English. I've done a dyslexia assessment course in Arabic. And now I have done a motivation course because these kids don't want to study anymore. I've experienced failure, especially college, college, high school, university. So I've started a course for them to try to motivate them. So as a teacher, read, attend a course, attend a lecture, become a member of our organization. Take courses. I mean, if you take courses, you really invest in your time because there are so many few teachers who are qualified, who know what is dyslexia, what is the best way to teach these kids. And you know what, Rosalind, research tells us that the methods that those teachers use to teach dyslexics, they are good for everybody. So it makes the dyslexics run. It will make the non-dyslexic fly. You are a teacher, you want to help your students at school, take a course on dyslexia because it talks about reading, it talks about the theories of reading, it talks about learning, it talks about management, it talks about how do you deal with kids. All of these skills are good for you as a teacher. A teacher are expert. They are the first teachers and parents. But teachers' role in dyslexia, so my advice to teacher, read about it, become a member of a professional organization, take a course about it, specialize. There are some degrees. I have a PhD on dyslexia. I spent 5 years of my life studying dyslexia. There is people who study dyslexia as psychologists. There is people who study dyslexia as genes, the gene 6 and gene 9, and they study the brains of dyslexic. There are people who study dyslexics because they are educators. There are people who study dyslexic because they are neurologists. There are people who study dyslexic because they are pediatricians. There is so many knowledge, a lot of knowledge a lot of different fields. You can have a master's on this. You can even do it online now. You can become but really invest in yourself as a teacher. Get yourself to know what is dyslexia, attend courses. There are so many training platforms now, and so many courses. Some of them are even free. Join groups like yours on Facebook or social media, affiliated LinkedIn, try to search, try to become an expert yourself, because it would really help your daily job. It will be good investment for your students, and you will help kids, because you become a mentor. You will make that difference in someone's life. That is really nice and self-fulfilling. What a better way to actually touch someone's life, someone who can't read. You will teach them how to read. I think that's a great task and a great achievement for teachers.
I love it, absolutely. And one thing that you said that I really love is study have shown that the method in teaching children with dyslexia is applicable to all.
Yes.
However, it's not the other way around where you just use anything to teach anybody. I love that aspect. And I feel like it's true, because if based on some of the phonics I have gone through and the way of teaching and all that, I look at it and I say, yeah, this can be applied to any student, not just dyslexic people. So thank you for touching on that. You did mention that you have programs that you run, like trainings and all that. Where can people access your trainings in case they want to take a training with you?
Sure. I have, there is an international platform called Udemy, Udemy, like an academy, udemy.com. And I chose that platform because it's very easy. It had like 30 million students around the world, Udemy. So I chose the platform, and then I started shooting my own. So I've got a camera. My wife is helping me and all that. So I started shooting. I'm a teacher. If I can't go to the chalkboard, and if my tools now are ring lights, and no problem. I'm a teacher. I embrace change. I embrace technology. I need to reach out. If online teaching and online learning is the way ahead, let me do it. So I've started focusing. So this website called Udemy, you can train anything. You can just, if you are an instructor and there is a course that you are passionate about, you can go and develop. So I went in and I chose it because the price is reasonable. The price is not expensive. I can set the price myself. Sometimes we do discounts and whatever. So I did now 3 courses live. So the teachers, all of us following, they can just go there to Udemy and search for dyslexia assessment, or search for my name, Gad Elbeheri. There is one now on dyslexia assessment in English. And what I did, Rosalind, I did videos. So all of it, they can watch it. And once they get the training, they can watch it on their smartphone. They can watch it on top. It's for life. Once you pay for it, it's with you. And then they watch the video. And with the video, there is resources. So they say, okay, I need a checklist. I'm a teacher. I need a checklist. What should I look at for in the classroom? So I put the resources. I put external links, because I'm telling them you have to become a member of the British Dyslexia Association, because the British are very good. And so say, okay, how? Here is the link of the British Dyslexia Association. Here is the conference. So I put a lot of rich material in my course. So for your viewers, if you would like, go to Udemy, search for Gad Elbeheri or search for dyslexia assessment. I've done 2, one in English, one in Arabic. I have also done motivation, because a lot of those kids now, because of the failure, they don't want to learn. And they're like, especially now with the COVID-19, they don't go out and they're staying at home. It really affects them. It reduces their motivation. So I did a course. It's called Motivation for College and University Students, English. It's now available. I have produced 3 more courses. One for intervention, for dyslexia intervention at home. So if you are a parent at home, what can you do at home to help your dyslexic son or daughter? So I finished that. So what I do now, I spend a lot of my time, Rosalie, in developing this content, this training. I also write books, but I develop training because I believe, like you, teachers really, you need to work with teachers. You need to make the tools available for teachers to achieve good change and to achieve an impact.
We have a comment from Anna Blake I think Anna is in Dubai, if I'm correct. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, Dr. Gad, and thanks, Rosalind, for these talks. The big problem is that the education system is absolute. Also, the teacher's degree, they don't degrees, they don't educate future teachers for neurodiverse students. Moreover, schools leadership, they don't offer ongoing training for teachers to teach dyslexic and other neurodiverse students. And that's from Anna Blake.
Yes, yes. I totally agree with you, Anna. You know what? You're 100% correct. But what is it that we can do? What is it that we can do? There is a very famous saying by Rumi. I don't know whether you know Rumi. He was a very good mystic and sophist. What Rumi says, yesterday I was clever, I was trying to change the world. Today I am wise. I'm trying to change myself. So I always, when I get questions like this and comments like this, I always say, I agree 100%, Anna. But if I start talking about, the neurodiverse, if I start talking about the problems, I am not going to have enough energy to give the solution. So let's focus on what is it, despite all of this, what's happening, what is it that we can do to reach out and to help. And I'm glad this, in a way, this issue of COVID-19 have really made people like us, Rosalie, like me and you, doing these blogs and this platform. I'll just tell you, I've never seen this beautiful platform before. So let's think outside the box. Let's think of ways in which we can reach those kids. Let's think of ways. This is what we have. I'm a teacher, and Anna is a teacher, and my college didn't educate me, didn't prepare me well for the classroom. And I bet the situation is not dissimilar to many countries around the world. But what is it that we can do now? What can I do? Where can I go now? Because this is the situation. Where can I go now? Where can I read? What books can I read? What training can I take? What conferences? What networks? What communities can I join in order to help those kids? Because regardless, we have a moral responsibility as teachers. We have a moral responsibility to educate the people whom we are entrusted to care for.
Yeah, it's absolutely just like you said, let's take the responsibility on our own, because if we would wait for our policy makers to make the decisions and putting resources for us, then we are not getting anywhere. As parents, we can do our part. As teachers, we can also do our part. But that's frankly, when it comes to teachers, I know you've given them an advice and everything, but I also do know when it comes to our part of the world here, the teacher salary are very little, and they will be like, yeah, my school is not going to be paying for me to have such a training and all that. But I do know some teachers who have really taken upon themselves, I really want to help students. So aside the mainstream teaching, he's doing fantastic job. But what he also did was stepping ahead and getting some of this training, like your training. And that person today is able to teach on the side for students who need help, and is able to take extra money from people or fees from people to also sustain their stuff. And that's really an innovative way for a teacher, even having a side business where you assist students with learning difficulties.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. And so I do encourage everyone watching is please go to udemy.com, look for Dr. Gad, and please take his program, his trainings on dyslexia. As a parent, you can take it. As a teacher, you can take it as well. And you can follow Dr. Gad also on Instagram at Conscious Gad. And he has really nice posts that he posts on his thing, and that alone, if you keep following, you will learn a thing or two on his Instagram. So I encourage you to highly follow him over there. Okay,
if they have any question, just send to me. I would love to. I would love to answer any question. I'd like to help. I love teachers. I'm a teacher, and I love to reach out for teachers because it's a noble job. And happy Teachers Day, by the way. So just a few days ago, we just missed it. But happy Teachers Day for all of the teachers who are with us.
Exactly. So we have people from Malawi watching. We have Geranji from Malawi, Anna from Abu Dhabi. We have others. Nancy from Kenya says, shout out to you, Dr. Gad. I'm watching you. And so all of them are tuning
lovely
here.
Friends. Hi, Geranji. Hi, Phyllis.
And it's exciting, but I really appreciate your insight on the issue of dyslexia. And my takeaway is dyslexia is not a disease, it's a learning difficulty. And the earliest the intervention, the possible. So the moment you start seeing that there are signs and difficulties for your child's learning, then you need to kind of seek for assistance. So wrapping up, Dr. Gad, I would like you to just sing in with how will a parent, even not having the assessment, spot that the child is probably maybe dyslexic?
There are a lot of signs and symptoms. We call them, Rosalind. And these ones, maybe I can send you some. I put them in my course, but maybe I can send you some and you can share them with the parents. And these signs are, especially for parents, watch out for those who are late to talk. Watch out for those who have poor verbal language issues. Watch out for otitis media, those who have glue ear syndrome, who get this temperature and they have intermittent hearing loss. Watch out for those. Watch out for your kids if they don't like nursery rhyme, the wheels on the bus go. Sing with your child. So if your child doesn't enjoy that, he doesn't understand nursery rhymes or whatever. And watch out and talk a lot about letters. And this is the letter O, this is round, this is the letter A, is like. So watch out and be careful if your child doesn't like reading, if your child doesn't like touching books, if your child is late to talk, if your child have poor verbal working memory, poor language processing abilities, if your child hates reading at all. No, watch out for these and try to observe. Try to look out what area. Observe everything. Observe how your child learns. Observe what time of day your child learns. Observe the lights that you have in your home, the lights, the sound, the noise, the attention. When is he most alert? When he's not alert? And reach out for the teacher. Reach out for the teacher and talk to the teacher about your child. There is tons of information that is free. Download them. And as soon as you have enough, we call them checklists. Checklist to do with listening, checklist to do with spelling, checklist to do with reading. As a parent, you should have that, and you should tick. And if there is a lot of these, then you should seek professional help and support. You should go for someone who's a psychologist or someone who is a professional in your country to carry out an assessment. Don't wait and don't think it will go away. No, it's important. The earlier, as you said, the earlier you identify, the easier it is to take care of the problem.
The earliest you identify, the easiest you take care of the problem. So don't sit and wait. Look for the signs, and if you spot them, and I believe those are the same signs as a teacher. If you're teaching a student, you look out for. When you see some of these things, please draw the attention of parents of the child and seek the needed assistance for them. I always tell people on this program, in the moments when you don't know how to do anything and you can't do anything at all, what you need to do is just be kind. Be kind and show love to the students. Don't ever tell a student you are lazy, you are dumb, you are stupid. Those words kill the self-esteem of a person, and it destroys dyslexic people or anybody with learning challenges completely. Words are powerful, so be careful of the words you say to a child. It is not good. Dr. Gad, do you have any final words? If not, we are about concluding.
The hour have been really amazing. It was really quick. Rosalind, we should do it again sometime.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. We'll do it again. So our viewers, thank you so much for hanging out. Oh, Dr. Gad, before we leave, so we have a question, and it really came late. I think we have to address. So we have this question from Solomon saying, how can adults surface be helped? Like, how can
Very good question. Very good
Yeah.
question. And we are guilty, Solomon, because we care a lot about children and we focus a lot about children that we forgot about the adults.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right. I have a very good friend of mine who has an organization in the UK called Dyslexia Foundation. The Dyslexia Foundation. So check them out, Solomon, dyslexiafoundation.com. His name is Steve O'Brien. He's the CEO of the Dyslexia Foundation. What Steve has, Solomon, is he has a free assessment. So now you go Google Dyslexia Foundation, and he has a test. It's called dyslexia-test.me, M-E. And you can go and test yourself. It will give you an instruction verbally, what is dyslexia, how do you do the test, and then it asks you some question and test, and then it will tell you whether you are or you are not, or whether you are at a risk or not. And there is so many of them, Solomon. But this one I know. Steve is a very good friend of mine, and this one I know. Adults need to know for their own self, they need to know whether they are dyslexic or not, because they need to deal with the past. They need to be comfortable. They need to say, I'm not stupid. All of this time, people have been telling me I'm not stupid. Thank God I know now I'm not stupid. So that self-confidence that's number one. Number two, a lot of the adult dyslexics, some of them or a lot of them have what we call executive functioning problem. So what is executive functioning? 4 problems: attention, speed of processing, so they take a bit of time to inhibition, and poor verbal working term memory. So poor short-term memory. I'm talking about you, Rosalind. Sorry. So what happened is these problems, you need them when you wanted to do a project, when you wanted to work, when you wanted a job. So dyslexic adults need a very good secretary. That's what I always say. You need a very good executive assistant. Don't waste your time trying to remember all of the dates and all of the calendar and all of the meetings and all of the directions and all of how to write email. Who cares about how you write emails? There are some people can write emails for you. Who cares about this big language and whatever? What we care about is your thoughts and your ability to be creative, your visual thinking, your ability to, because dyslexics think outside the box because they have been troubled all their life in schools and they are forced. How can I do this? I'm in exam and I need to think outside of the box. So they are good problem solvers. They are good entrepreneurs and whatever. So for an adult, get yourself tested, deal with your executive functioning. So if you are in a job and you feel like, I can't do this job, and don't suffer anymore. Try to find a solution. Do either a job that follows your passion, or get a secretary or get someone to help you and take it easy for yourself. And use technology. That's my third point. Technology will really help you. Audiobooks, voice notes to remind yourself. Audiobooks is just an amazing. You can read 5 books a day. Just plug yourself in and listen. You can use text-to-speech software. You can use these pens that read for you. As I was interviewing a friend of mine in the UK, and he has the scanning pens. Yeah, if you're stuck in a word, well, just scan it with the pen. The pen will read it for you. It will spell it for you, will give you the reading and whatever. Use technology. Technology is your friend. It would really help you.
Wow, you were just describing my entire life to me. It's true. I'm always struggling around me. We are on this set and I'm trying to read the comments. I'm trying to focus. I'm like, okay, what do I do? So it is absolutely true. We have another question from Jiranje from Malawi. She is asked, what kind of programs can we introduce to adults over 30 years who are still struggling with reading and writing? Programs or trainings?
Unfortunately, Jiranji, we don't have a lot. Most of the programs that we have been doing has been targeted as people who are young. But we have 1 or 2. And I suggest you reach out for Steve and the Dyslexia Foundation in the UK. Because Steve, for years, he's a very good friend of mine. For years, he's been coming to the International Dyslexia Association and he's trying to say, hey, guys, enough talking about kids, we understand, but also talk about adults because nobody talks about adults. And Jiranji her question is very good. So Steve would have 1 or 2 or 3, regardless whether you are adult or a child. You need to access the written word. You need to be able to fill in a form. If you're applying for a job, you need to be able to fill in a form. Yeah, you need some idea of how do you manage your time, because you lack structure. How do you manage your time? How do you manage your organizational skills? How to get your thing? How to write your CV? How to apply? And what is it that you should do in a CV? What you should do, what you shouldn't do, and stuff like that. So there is some help and some support. The reading is functional. What I mean functional is that I need to read so that I can fill in the form, so I can get a job, I'm not going to be, you know what I mean? I'm not going to just read for pleasure or whatever, because I can, I guess, but I can use technology for that. So Steve will actually have maybe a program or 2 that would really help you, Jiranji, I think. But on the top of my head, I can't remember one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I have dyslexiafoundation.com for adult screening. And also Steve is the founder. You can reach out to him for more information, Jiranji, and anybody who will find this useful. And myself, I'm going to check on Dyslexia Foundation as well. But this has been super excellent. Like adults with dyslexia, it's quite a lot. Because since I started this advocacy and awareness thing, when I go on radios and TVs and speak, last week I actually had a woman who is 55 who contacted me and said, I'm 55. Wow. I'm still struggling to read and write. People think I'm stupid. Can you teach me?
Maybe you can invite Steve, Rosalind, to appear. He is a really good speaker. He would really answer a lot and appeal to the adult community.
I think I will have to reach out to him and do that, because
I can connect if you'd like.
I will be grateful for that. I will
sure, I will do that.
Yeah, but I would love a case study, actually, like this woman who is 55. When I connect with Steve, I think I would love to have a case study where we can have him put on a program and see if she can read within like a year or 2 for us to see. That would be a very
successful. He can. Yeah. Like he can. He has a team and they have been doing this for years, and they sit with them. But to deal with adults is very different than dealing with children, because the approach is different, and that's very different.
As absolutely agree. So once again, please follow Dr. Gad on Instagram at Conscious Gad if you want to know more. And he also have a program on Udemy. And so if you follow him, he can send you the link and everything. But please make sure, invest a little amount of money and take trainings in dyslexia. Also, look out for free resources on it. But the wonderful thing I like when you take somebody's training, let's say Dr. Gad, is after it and you don't understand something, you can get access to him and ask him questions. So the free ones are there, but you probably won't get anybody explaining stuff to you versus how if you do. So do a little investment. And as a teacher, just be very creative and innovative. Your salary may not be enough, but you can also structure your own self and knowledge base to be able to help people with learning difficulties and make it as a side business for yourself as well. So I encourage parents to do your part. And I'm remaining to say these words. In the moment when you have no idea of how to support anybody, just be kind to them and tell them like good words of affirmation. Never talk low of a child. Never say you are dumb, you're stupid, because they cannot learn to the standard of your society or your ability. Thank you so much, Dr. Gad. We appreciate you for coming on Dyslexia Global Conversation and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you for the wonderful work you're doing in our community, because we know people do realize and come on all the time, but not everybody takes control to be that I'm stepping forward to help people with learning differences. So we really appreciate you and acknowledge the work you are doing in our community. Viewers, thank you, and Same time next week, we're going to bring you another marvelous session. Keep sharing this video, share it with everyone, people in education, share it in the groups that you are in, and let people hear this message. Thank you and have a very great evening. Bye.